Thank you. All right, guys. So, Berimbolo. And again, this week we're doing Berimbolo. We're doing our lapel. All right. we're doing our lapel work off some of our basic sweeps, and then we'll finish up with just like some fun sort of worm guard stuff, the common known stuff. I'll be right off the bat. I talked about this in the last class. This is not my position, and as I said to the kids when we taught it, this took me a good like 4 tries or like 4 lessons of it being taught to me, and I'm not talking back to back, like I'm saying like over like a couple of years like of it being taught to me before it finally started to click. So what I want to focus for you guys is not getting so much into just one variation of the move. I want to break it down in 3 ways, the way we did for the kids, and they actually somewhat got it. And then we'll get into a variation where you know it's a full-on position. Okay. So we're going to start off with just Ian's already on his butt. His legs are extended. So this is based off the Delahiva, obviously. So I'll go to my dominant hook, and I want to have that Delahiva hook in place. Okay, and guys, please move around if you can't see. So the 2 key components to this position, and will make your life a lot easier, is maintaining your grips. This ankle grip or a pant grip, if you want to hold on to it, just gets a little bit janky sometimes. And then a grip as far onto his belt or back or butt that you can get. Okay, don't rely on the belt to not rotate. Make sure that it's more of like a welded point in. So we're gonna flat spin first, just to get close to the idea of inverting without actually inverting. So ankle, sit forward, get the secondary grip on the belt or the side of the hip. I need to make sure that I elevate myself, so I'm controlling with the elbow and the shoulder to make sure that I can pull myself past his foot line so you don't crush your partner's ankle. So frame off your elbow, and I tip forward. Now, don't worry too much about this bottom leg and all the other positions. I just want you guys getting in the habit of your body's trajectory through the sweep. So this upper leg is going to draw a big circle, and I'm using the tension of my grip to pull my head under, and I stay tethered to him with this grip here. So I'm just going to rotate all the way through until the point that I can get up to my knees. Okay? This in itself would be 2 points for a sweep, but it's more about just finding the pathway. So again, Delahiva hook, fall forward over the top of his foot. Don't sit on his ankle and crush it. Sit forward, pick yourself up again. As you hit your shoulder and head to the mat, this leg, don't kick him in the face. Draw a wide circle so that you can carry yourself all the way through, okay? You can see here I'm very close to his back, but we're not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna come up and take your 2 points. One last time. Again, partner, just, if you're here, you might get kicked in the face, okay? Sit back. That also will take some of the weight off your legs, so if your partners struggle a bit, it'll be easier to carry. Now, last detail with this, I don't want to pivot at my hip. So if I go here and I'm heavy on my butt, and I do this, my head's gonna smack into him. So I want to think about keeping my hips high and my chin tucked, so I'm rotating mid-back. It's a lot easier to spin this way. And then if you don't have the core strength yet, this leg again is the momentum. Draw the circle and just carry the momentum through and just come up. All right, guys, start with that. 1, 2. Back to the middle. Good. All right. So again, we've got the flat spin. Again, from here, it was just spinning under the leg, so we start to find that orientation, okay? Yeah. So now, without you yet, that ninja roll. Okay, so now we're going to actually invert. So think of it again, tucking the arm through, and then we rotate through and on top. But now, because our legs are going to be tethered and we have an actual grip, it's going to be very easy to stay on that shoulder line. You're not going to have to do the arm platform at all. So, same seated position. So, everything the same. Grab that Delahiva, sit forward, go get the grip. But now, instead of doing this big rotation through, get your head underneath and then just spin over the top. So, it's essentially the same motion, but I'm shortening the distance. So, instead of a big spin mid-back, we're just going to stay a little bit higher, and then I'm just going to use the weight of my legs to keep myself inverted and rotate all the way through to the other side, where again, we're just going to come up, take our 2 pulls, okay? One last time, sorry. Sit through, just keep your knees over your head, and just roll through. You should find this easier, but again, people who don't quite have the mobility or the core strength to keep their legs over their headline and keep the weight floating, that flat spin is sort of necessary to introduce the position. Okay, so make that slight adjustment. Just keep the feet over the head. Grab, and then just tip all the way through and just think about getting cheese after. All right, 1, 2. Thank you. All right, guys. So let's add another layer. So in a lot of these, in a lot of these positions, it is like when we get into more advanced things, again, it is just layering. You're just adding something on top of each other until eventually it becomes a cohesive motion, right? So we're going to go one more time here from our butt, then we'll get into our actual entrances. So now what we're going to focus on is just pushing ourselves to mount, which is going to force us to fully invert, but also start to find the engagement on the legs. And like I was saying, there is a lot of variations on how to put your feet. Eventually we'll add lapel grips in and everything else, but we just want to keep this bare bones basics, okay? We've got to keep this stock. So grab, sit forward until you end up here. Now, most of you, when you started to roll, your legs are just kind of at the knee line, or even worse, you're at the calf. What we want to think about doing is engaging at the hips and biting in on the actual leg itself. So when you tip, try not to get your toe up my butt. As you fall, pull your head in tight like you guys have been doing. I want to carry my hips up and latch, okay? My upper shin tucked in at the hip, scooping, and my bottom foot isn't just on the mat, it's pinching and it's almost across the hip line. So this is one variation of, not a grip, but of a leg position. Now, just so that we feel really strong and comfortable here, do not transition your head through. All we're going to do is drive them out. So I'm going to pull and just extend my hips all the way through and on top. So that way we start to feel comfortable with something really easy and force our legs in position. Because if I go here and then I try to drive to mount, it's going to be really awkward. I'm just going to end up getting blocked by his legs. So fall forward, get your shins engaged. So again, knees pinching on the near leg, and my feet are carried over towards the hip. And now just pull yourself with this here, driving your hips to the mat, okay? So again, you notice that my head never transitioned under, but I'm here. And then drive it to mount. Use those delts, use your neck safely, but mainly use that grip, okay? Now I want to give you some context. We should probably talk about this after. So this is what annoys me sometimes with Berimbolo in a competitive setting. So getting the back, obviously, is a very good place to get to in competition. It's a great place to finish from in competition. But we're sweeping and then getting to the back, 2 for the sweep, 4 for the back, mount. People are very good at blocking their back though. It's hard to get hooked sometimes, okay? So if he was on top, he sits down, and I do this, how many points? 2 for the sweep, 4 for mount. Same exact points with very little complication. And if I ever get my partner avoiding the back take, if I just get up to my knees, I'm on top, he's on the bottom, there's my sweep. So what annoys me again in competition is sometimes you see guys wasting time. And that could also be tournament strategy, where they actually are trying to cook the clock, and then eventually when they're ready, they'll then actually try and get the back, get their 6 points, and then now you only have a minute left to try and work out of. So if you don't tap them, then they still have no chance at really coming back in a competitive sense, points-wise. But from a person who's a little more like of the MMA no-gi submission vibe, which I am, it can frustrate me when I watch that, okay? Even though I've had it done to me multiple times. Why don't you? Give it a try, guys. Okay, we're gonna put it all together now. It actually completes at the back. Chris, sorry. So, again, from our butt. So that leg position does a couple things, right? One, it blocks him from coming towards me and countering. And two, because my foot gets carried through, it tangles them up. So I have a little bit, I'm basically triangling my legs early. So I'll stay more hung up. I'll have a better connection to them. But also I can always drop my bottom foot to the mat and use that to kick off and force my roll, okay? So ankle, belt. Again, get tight. I would ideally want to stay here because as I roll through, my legs naturally can cross and triangle. But if he's resisting or I'm feeling, oh, he's heavy, this leg here, the one that's my De La Riva hook, goes back to the floor and then I can kick off and force myself to roll. But anytime you kick off, you do start to, again, create space. So just keep that in mind. You want to try and stay as tight in the position as you possibly can. So ankle, fall, get tight, and then from here, I twist over to the side. I cross my feet as my head passes through. So as his leg goes past my vision, so I go from left to right, that's when I want to lock up my triangle. And also, make sure that you're not locking up here. Remember, we talked about this earlier, and that's why we did this practice, to get our legs tight. Once I clear and I cross my feet, this hand's going to let go and look for the inner pant leg on the knee. My goal for the back take is to force him to turtle. So as I extend my legs, I'm not extending out of my position. And stay tight to the thigh, pinching. And then as I extend, I want to force him further than you would think. Get him to his knees, and then now my leg is already a hook. I go for my seatbelt, and then I start to hip escape with the upper leg to jump higher and force the position. This is a little bit of a mess, it's okay. Again, the belt is the best, easiest grip you can get, and it gives you direct hip control or torso control. But even if he doesn't have it, you just need to make sure that you either grab the pant or grab the back of the gi. Just expect that with slack and movement, your position is going to be harder to keep tight. So, in position, lock up, rotate through. As you see, if I want to use that light as a focal point, as I see that leg eclipse it, cross, knee, and do not let those legs slide out of the thigh. Extend and punch, and then go for the back from there. One last time. In, roll, and back. Okay? Again, pretty bare bones, but you need to understand this before we start to play with the lapel and X and all the other kind of shit. Okay? Let's finish up. Okay, so off the ground again. You can play this fast and loose, or you can play it tight and strong. Okay? So again, here, I don't need to do any of that stuff. If I just go, I can then scramble for the back, right? So you see, like, my feet were open, I was all over the place. It's like just the basis of the movement. But if I want to really make sure I got boom, lock, like I want to feel in control of him the entire time, not hoping that he stays with me, right? I want to force him to stay with me the entire time. Okay, that's why like getting those knees tight is so important. Now, we'll never get here if we don't sit him down though. So this is the thing that I struggle with the most personally. So from De La Riva now. So all I need him to do is sit down. So I could tripod sweep and then go get him. But look how far his hip is. Ideally, I want him to sit beside me, right beside my ear, so I barely have to rotate. So the way we're going to set that up, kicks it up. Key thing again, think about the orientation of where I want my legs. I'm going to want my legs high on his legs, so I don't want to let anything drop out of position. Kicks it up, grab the belt. Now, I can bring him in with these legs here and kick him over my head and chase him with everything being in relatively the correct position. But With this leg being extended out, he may start to counter me, kick my leg off, etc. Okay? So we're gonna make a slight adjustment. We didn't do this with the teens. Kicks it up, grab, and then now to ensure that he falls where I want him to, this leg here is going to go to his hip. I'm pinching on this upper leg because I can always let it slide later. Coil, so I have his weight, and then I kick again towards the side I want him on. So now you can see how deep I am with my legs, and I can always slide in and make my adjustments as I want. Okay? So this foot here, then rotate, find that leg, and then in position. So all you're doing is adding the entrance now. Boom. You can go almost into a back roll and just turn a quick angle. Which is kind of funny when you think about it. Remember our Tamanagi that we did? Basically like doing the Berimbolo without doing the Berimbolo. Maybe he's confused. Oh, again, pull them in, kick them over, and then just turn. Remember, hook, 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 hook. Take it back. Okay? 1, 2. So, again, the entrance can be pretty tough. Again, this is what I struggle with the most, but so there's a couple groups that this is happening. Okay? Kicks it up, you go here, and then he's falling this way, but to your back, like fall over here, right? Like, so I'm at the end of the Del Hiva already, or sorry, at the end of the Berimbolo. I would be looking to do this, right? He rotated the opposite direction over my head on entrance, so he basically like kind of swept himself. So forcing a block. So right now we're being really nice with this Del Hiva hook, but when you compress, I want to get his weight loaded, but I really want to think about punching his foot away almost to force him to collapse into my entrance. Okay? A lot of people go on a deep Del Hiva hook as well, where they really hug here instead of it being a grip. So the idea is that you're almost kicking his leg over your shoulder line. You're buckling the knee, or you're stressing the knee to force him to fall. So you really want to, again, sit down. Pull, get your grips, and again, like this is a block. I don't want him to fall this way. Then I compress, and I really want him to collapse to the side. So make him collapse. Lock up, and finish. Okay? Partners too, help each other out a little bit. If you feel like they're pulling you to the wrong side, like indicate that. Maybe they need to be a little bit meaner with how they're using their legs. If you're trying to use mainly arm power to dump them to that side, it's going to be very inefficient. It's more legs. Really make sure that you're trying to kick with that Del Hiva hook. Sorry, Ian? Remember our basic bull? Like if I go here and I'm kicking this way, it should be very uncomfortable for him to step back this way because I'm actively blocking to the side. And then it's just pull him down. So have that mentality. Okay? 1, 2. So